We're still on lighting and appliances. And actually, I want to show you this. Amar sent me this nice link. It's about something called solar tubes. Is it recording?
Yeah.
Okay. So solar tubes actually is a very, very smart idea. It was out around like 2008, guys. It was out around like 2005, but it was very expensive. Those are very, very economical and affordable. They're not that expensive. I figured it out. They're not that expensive, and the idea is to have kind of getting skylights all the way to the first floor, and they have some pictures here. So it's completely free operation, and some of them actually have LED embedded on them. I don't know if they have pictures. Solar tube, residential. So this is how it works. So basically, it's a reflective tube that connects to your ceiling and to reflect light all the way to your living space. So you get free lighting, and it's very tax deductible. That's how it works. Basically, a bunch of mirrors going all the way around, and you get enough lighting inside. It's a very smart idea. And I looked it up in Home Depot. It's like 160 a piece.
They do that in like third world countries, but with like soda bottles.
Yeah.
They put the bottom half of the soda bottle through the roof, and you fill it with water, and it makes
The light goes over.
Yeah.
Love to see that. That's awesome.
Sure, it's on YouTube.
You can just have a tube with a glass in it. It's not really that high tech.
Yeah.
But the reflective part is the high tech. If you have to go through like curves, otherwise your light will go away.
You can have natural light no matter where you are in the house, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, where did we stop last time? The appliances. Okay, we're still on appliances, and I want to talk about the clothes washer. So newer models are more efficient by a factor of 5, depending on the load. Is it top load or side load? And again, they have new technologies to kind of optimize the agitation, so you don't have to go in circles with a lot of torque. The more torque you have, the more you work or overwork your motor, and the more power you consume. The water recycling, that's also being optimized, so you can use less water based on the weight. So if you have a new clothes washer or laundry machine, it will actually do a couple of spins to see how much weight of clothes we have to put the optimum water. Putting the optimum amount of water means you get the right temperature of water and less energy use. More water, more weight, more energy required to agitate the barrel. So front loads are better than vertical loads because it requires less energy to turn around. The energy factor has been more, there are 2 factors. So be aware of that if you are going to buy a new laundry machine, and look at the energy factor. What does it account for? Question?
Yeah, but don't those like front loaders leak a lot though?
Huh?
Don't the front loaders leak a lot?
Not the new ones. Not the new ones. They have really good seals. And depends on how much you put in them. If you stuff them really, there's a limit actually to how much you can fill it. If you stuff it way too much and it overloads, it might leak, but the new ones do not. And so the energy factor and the modified energy factor, you gotta be aware of that. Thank you. Aware of that, because what happens is they do not add the amount of energy is required to dry the clothes. Why? You know the spin cycle? If it goes not long enough, it will take you longer to dry these clothes. So they take some power out of the cycle to make it look efficient. However, you will need more energy to dry those clothes. So this is going to be a question in the quiz. What is the modified energy factor and what is the energy factor? So remember that. How much energy is required to dry the clothes? The more you spin the clothes, the more you get more moisture out of them. Dryers. Line drying is it's a good way to save energy. However, that's not very good in this area because I think it will take 3 days. In the winter, I don't think the clothes will dry. You can put a line, so it's not very common here, but it's a good idea in Florida, plus where it's sunny and hot and dry. Over here, I tried that, it didn't work out very well for me because you put the clothes there 3 days and still not dry. So it saves energy. And from another point of view, some clothes actually are easier to dry using line clothing. They have new fabrics now that are they are retardant to bacteria or bacterial growth, and they don't hold as much moisture. Most like sporting goods are like that. So you can wash them and you can dry clothe them, and there'll be no problem. The other problem with tumble drying, it's actually turning your clothes into lint. Every time you clean that lint screen, that's basically a t-shirt gone. Yeah, it's because you are agitating the fibers and you're getting some fibers out of it, you're blowing air into it. So basically you are turning your clothes into lint. And sometimes if you look at some clothes that have very fine fabric, they will say do not tumble dry, line dry. You're hanging them and they should dry faster. Cotton is very hard to dry using lines because it holds a lot of moisture. But they have microfiber now and different new kind of Pima cotton or something that dries easier and feels better. Gas dryers, they cost around like 50 to 30 to 50 cents per load. That's not that much. That's why if you go to the laundromat and if they have gas dryers, they will say the drying is free. But you go and fill up the.
When you get out, don't go to those places.
Why? What happened?
Yeah, any place that gives you a free dryer, you know it's outside in front of a pack store.
I did not know that. Thank you so much. I was gonna do laundry this week, and thank you for letting me know. I love the huge machine. I put everything in the huge machine. $8 and it's done.
Yeah, that's good for comforters and linen. Like
I
that.
put everything. I put like 3 months clothes in it. Get it done in one load. Humidity sensors are very important in clothes drying because they will give you the optimum dryness. So the clothes do not need to be very crispy, and sometimes you do it time-based and they're already dry. So you're just running the dryer for no reason. So humidity sensor is very important. Cleaning the filters is also another way to improve the efficiency of your dryer, because if the filter is clogged, the air is not circulating, and you are depending on the air to carry out the moisture from your clothes to the outside. Refrigerators and freezers, 9 to 15% of energy consumption, the total household consumption. And actually, yeah, remember all this information because next semester I applied for energy auditor license, so you'll be tested for that and you can get the license. The energy auditor license and heat loss analyst can get those licenses here. So they are from the ESCO Institute, the same people who give you the EPA. So we'll have a review session, then you can take the test and you can have this license with you. It will look good in your resume and it's kind of like certified that you know how to do these things. So probably it will be similar information from this book. Actually, the review book is this book. So you're already ahead of the game. So they say chest freezers are better than door freezer because why?
Every time you open the door,
It stays in place.
falls out.
When you open the door, it falls out.
Yeah.
So if sometimes I was watching TV and I can feel like my feet are getting cold, and I realized that the fridge was open. So all the cold air was seeped inside, and like my feet got cold. It's very cold and heavy air, so it flows like water. So it goes to the ground and falls. Having more efficient fridge is better than less efficient one, and having the right size fridge is very important.
Mhm.
Why would you have like huge freezer with only ketchup in it?
You're freezing ketchup. You don't put ketchup in a freezer.
In a fridge. I've seen somebody with a huge fridge with a ketchup and a mustard in it. Things that you don't even need to fridge. Like, you know what? You should unplug your fridge.
That's something I was
Don't even
counting
need-
on my own fridge because we just got it replaced and it has an even bigger freezer. And I was like, oh, good. But it's still an open door one, not a chest.
Yeah.
And,
The freezer is good because you don't open it as often, but for the fridge to have all this energy just for like 2 or 4 things that do not even need to be
The only thing I put in there is leftovers.
So it will make sense to have a small freezer and a freezer in the kitchen and a big one in the garage for like more
Beer?
stuff. So you open it. Listen. That's for freezer. Deer meat maybe or game meat or whatever.
Deer meat.
I've seen that. So keep the freezer as full as possible. Why is that?
Because when you freeze everything, it's like ice cubes. in
Yeah,
the freezer.
it's storing. It's kind of the heat is stored. Guys, the party in the back. Defrost if there is more than 1/4 inch accumulation, because that will hold back the heat transfer factor from the freezer. So it's not going to be holding enough, I wouldn't say coldness, but to not reject as much heat if it has a lot of defrost. So more than 1/4 inch, put it in defrost mode, or just like unplug it and take the ice out. It's not doing the function. Limit the opening time, and actually I think Samsung or LG, they were thinking of having see-through fridge.
I saw one of those yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't have to freaking open the fridge and think, should I have the hot dog or the 3 days Chinese food?
It's
Or
got TV and the weather on and everything.
that's actually a smart idea. I was thinking of a see-through door, but you can actually have a camera inside with like, okay, what's inside? And okay.
Bluetooth to your phone, so you do your shopping list, and it goes right to your phone.
Yeah.
That's too much for me. Again,
No, I'm serious.
too much monitoring, man. I don't want people know what they eat.
The whole thing about those fridges though is that you can input, when you put that food in, it tells you how long you can hold it.
Who has the time to scan everything you put in there?
Smell it before you eat it.
Huh? I don't have a butler to do that for me.
I'll tell you something right now. My
That's it.
girlfriend does the expiration date thing.
No, I did that. My Fitness Pal, the app where you scan your food. I don't have time to scan my food. I mean, who has time for that? But it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Okay, this is guys. This is also important to clean the coil for the freezer and the fridge. They require some cleaning because they do trap a lot of dust in them. And if you have pets, God help you, probably all the pet hair is clogged in the freezer and the fridge, especially the inside part. Side by side refrigerator and freezer waste more energy. Why? What do you think that is? There's insulation between them, and you have to pump, but probably have 2 compressors. In a conventional fridge, all the equipment is in the freezer, and that's what's working, and whatever extra heat suction is goes into the.
But I thought because of now they got the new bottom drawer, that's how they.
The bottom drawer is just a tube coming all the way from the freezer. It's called the crisper,
Yeah.
and I think it has more humidity to keep the lettuce lasting for more than 2 days. Upright freezer uses more energy than chest freezer. We talked about that. 2 small refrigerators use more energy than 1 large fridge, because again, they will run more than you think, and 1 large one will have only 1 equipment, and the huh? Yeah, it's 2. Exactly.
Is the one you're back in the big one or a small?
Well, it's a 4-footer.
All models more than 10 years old, they consume around 1,000 to 2,000 kilowatts hour per year. That's a lot.
Let's do that math.
Why don't you do the math? My hero. Refrigerator control. How do we do the setting? Don't overdo it. So you keep the freezer between 0 and 5 degrees Fahrenheit.
Not in my house.
Less than that?
It's at 10.
10. Really? It's not good.
Just, it doesn't.
It's an
Might
old
be
one.
the
Probably.
insulation for
Yeah.
the freezer.
Probably it's an old one too. Yeah. Fridge between 36 and 40. You don't want things to be freezing. So what is the freezing point for most water? 32. So keep it a little bit higher, but not too high. Other than that, the food will spoil. And the reason actually we try to refrigerate food is to slow down the bacterial growth. So you slow it down until like 42, so it will spoil, but it will take longer. If you freeze it, it will last much longer. Pools and spa. Water heating demand, they have a lot of water heating demand, and also the pumping and the jets. You want to keep the pool at 78 degrees. 80 is optimal, but 78 is doable. Anything less than 75 and it will feel cold. There's also circulation energy, because most pools have a filter going on, and you have to add chlorine to maintain water quality. Hot tubs are usually kept at 102, 105. And they consume a lot of energy. However, you didn't use them as often, like what, once a week? So.
I know a guy that has black holes and going like this all on his roof. I ain't kidding you, man. And then he's got it running into his hot tub, and he's got this little circulator pump like from the pool, and he just keeps everything in circulation water, and that's how he keeps warm his hot tub.
He has a lot of free time in his mind.
Solar.
So solar pool heating, there are options for chapter 9. You can heat your pool using solar power, which is very economical, but the setup is expensive. But if you can do your own setup. You can do your own setup. This board outside the class, actually it's a solar water heater. It's old, it's almost 10 years old. There are new ones now you can buy for $200. We can put in your roof on your yard, and it will heat water for you for free. Pool covers and evaporation. We'll talk about that also more next semester, but that will eliminate the heat loss, because what's happening? Same thing with windows. You are reducing the convection. No convection to the roof. Pump maintenance, that will reduce the energy consumption, because pump is running all the time and they consume a lot of energy as well. Time related elbows, we'll talk about that as well, because when you pump selection is very important. If you have the right circulation, then it will not require as much energy to pump water through the circuit. And if you have too many elbows and it's too far, it will require a lot of pumping power. We'll talk about people heat gain, and that will be important when we do cooling loads. So this is how much heat you put into the room if you're doing moderate active work. That's around 200 BTU per hour of latent heat gain, because you're probably sweating. Standing, light work, walking, again still 200 BTU hour for latent heat, and 250 sensible heat. Guys, light bench work, you have more BTU per hour, and you are doing 140 watts, and that's 55 watt light bulb. So it's not that much, but it's still something. That's per person. Heavy work, you'll put out around like 255 watts, and that's 870 BTU hour. So that's why in gyms usually they have the AC cranked up, because a lot of people working out and a lot of heat being missed. And the heat is two things. There's sensible heat, because you're sweating and you're evaporating that. So you are absorbing a lot of, you're emitting a lot of heat to evaporate the sweat. When you exercise in the gym, that's 315 watts. That's that's around 1,000 BTU hour. If you're like doing cardio, like running 6 miles an hour or 5.5 miles an hour, that's how much you'll be emitting. So this is in a nutshell what we do for appliances and how to optimize some appliances. And there are more ideas. If you want more ideas and get more information about the equipment, you can visit the Department of Energy website or Energy Star too. Questions? Quiz time? Yeah.